Mr. Phil Gruber is featured in the critically acclaimed film, The Indigo Evolution. His passion, enthusiasm, kind spirit, sparkling wit, and intelligence has made him a much-loved, highly respected, and in-demand speaker on the international scene. He is acknowledged worldwide as one of the foremost teachers of advanced healing systems, light language, sacred geometry, the Magdalene Mysteries, the Indigos, the structure of space-time, and an ever-expanding repertoire of diverse and facilitating subjects. And if any of you know Phil, you know he is quite a character. Phil is a dear friend, and we're very honored to have you here tonight. So thank you for being here, Phil.
Oh, thank you very much. I like that. I like. It's nice hearing it back. Yeah, all true. I didn't really want to go that much overboard, but I want to thank you, Sheila, for organizing this very, very important, significant, time-sensitive conference, because I believe that most of us, or certainly many of us, and I'll get into my own personal walk-in experience in a couple of minutes, are actually walk-ins when we understand more about the quote-unquote technology or the mechanics and dynamics of the walk-in experience and the different kinds of walk-in experiences, because this is what it's all about. I want to thank you again. I want to thank everyone for coming on. We're getting close to 100 participants now. I know there'll be a lot more. I also want to thank Yesha. I want to thank all representatives of the Guardian Alliance, the Emerald Order Melchizedek Cloister, all those who honor the original Emerald Covenant. And so let's go right into it. Okay, so I have an hour before the question and answer session, yes. Sheila?
Yes, you have an hour, and then we'll have 15 minutes for Q&A.
Oh, that's good. Okay, so there's a lot of information to go through, and this will be available. You can watch it and rewatch it and rewatch it and rewatch it. You know, a lot of people think that the indigo phenomenon is like been there, done that. It's yesterday's news. But the truth is, everybody, that understanding, having a more detailed and profound understanding of who and what the indigos actually, I believe that pretty much everybody that's tuning in now is what are commonly known as indigos, whether you want to call us psychic, super psychic, mythic, magical, mystical children, children of the Blue Ray Kachina, Melchizedeks, children of paradise, B'nai Or, B'nai Elohim. They really are under the umbrella of indigo children, and there are various types of indigo children. And I'll be able to have time to talk about the dominant types of indigos, and I think you'll be able to recognize what type you may be, because the types have different purposes. We all have an overarching purpose, and that had to do with the creation of the original human race. The original race, what we call the Tyrannusium, the Adam Kadmon, the Adumi Kudmon, which is to be guardians and custodians of the planetary stargates. Called the Templar, some people will call it the Holy Grail. This is the original mission, and this was the impetus for the creation of the original angelic human race, was to be guardians of the planetary stargates, that through these planetary stargates, you can access the interdimensional stargates, and we'll talk more about that. I'll go into my own walk-in experience very briefly. Let me see if I can share the screen here. At 6 years old, I was involved in a car accident. We estimate that this is Roberta Eich's father, was going about 60 miles an hour. I got out on the driver's side. The impact, they estimate he was going about 60 miles an hour. I was thrown up into the air, down the street, landed, not a scratch. It hit, the force of the impact hit something came in, and the force of that impact threw me up in the air and down the street. This was a very typical kind of walk-in scenario in which the information that I have, that I teach, that I share, I probably would have gotten at about the age, it would have started to come in maybe 12 years old, between 12 and 22, certainly at 33 years of age. But the fact that I had this contract, this soul contract, as Sheila talks a lot about, and a lot of amazing information Sheila shared with us that really provides a much more expanded framework and context to understand what we're all being involved in. And while I'm on that track, I want you and Sheila, I haven't talked to you about this yet, but in a few weeks through the Consciousness Awakening Network, I'd like to do a very special webinar. And the webinar is going to involve the Jewish question, the occult roots of what we see manifesting on this planet once again, whether it's you want to call it the German Jewish question, the Aryan Jewish question. You know, I want to get into the hidden dynamics, the forbidden, forgotten, occult history of this struggle for possession of the Holy Land that goes back before 1948. Goes back before the creation of the State of Israel, goes back to the early decades of the 20th century, goes back way before the decades of the 19th century, the late 1800s, goes back before the time of the biblical patriarchs, goes back at least a couple of 100,000 years, if not millions, if not billions of years. What we see it manifesting on the planet now, the earth is that staging ground and always has been for interdimensional conflicts that are literally millions of years old. And it's very, very, very important that we understand what it is, what the occult, the hidden roots are, how we're involved in it, how we need to participate actively in helping things and facilitating things. This is the reason we were originally created as immortal angelic beings, to be healers, to be way showers, to be pathfinders, especially women, to be these revealing vehicles for the light of God, for the grace of God. It's very, very likely, that Paul's soul's conversion on the road to Damascus, that should have been one of the Bob Hope Bing Crosby movies. They missed that one, the road to Damascus. His conversion was probably a walk-in experience. And it was the age of 6 years old where I started getting huge downloads. Now that walk-in, as soon as it walked in to save my life. This is a very common walk-in scenario when you have a near fatal accident or a near-death experience and you need to be on the planet. When you really need to be on the planet, you know, and it's time sensitive, there will be direct intervention. Normally, as many of us know, the angelics, the higher ups, the higher evolution don't want to involve themselves directly in our world. But if it's a situation like, for example, mine, where I could have very easily died, and probably would have had to experience a soul braid to come back, and we'll talk about that. And actually, I think a lot of us are going to talk about soul braiding. Ken Lloyd, I think, his main thesis is going to be talking about soul braiding. We'll talk a little bit about soul braiding. But a lot of people think, again, that the Indigos is yesterday's stuff. No, it's more pertinent than ever that we understand who and what we are so we can fulfill the purposes that we came on this planet to fulfill. The Indigos are, in truth, well, excuse me, my battery is running low. Is that possible? Okay, hold on a second. This is really important. Oh yeah, okay. You're going to have to give me, Sheila, can you come in for just a couple of minutes? I have to hook up my charger. Okay.
Oh, sure. Absolutely.
Okay. All right.
Hello again, everybody. So I'm just going to take this time to do just a little bit of a commercial for the Conscious Awakening Network. I just want you to know that we have so many phenomenal videos, all free of charge. Please go to your phone app store and download our phone app. You can also go and visit us on our website. You can check us out if you are on Roku, Amazon, Apple TV, or any of the Android platforms. You can also download our app there. And our apps are free of charge. I think you have to go ahead and belong to them, but if you'll check us out on those apps, we would really appreciate it. And once more, here's Phil.
Okay, let me see if I can do a little bit of that. Can I share the screen for a minute or two, Sheila?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. Oops, hold on.
For those who know me, and for those, even for those who don't, now's the time to strap yourselves in. Okay. All right, I can share the screen a little bit later.
Yeah, no, you should be able, Phil, try it again. You should be able to share it.
Okay, here we go. This is a photo of me. Can everybody see this? This was right after the walk-in. Come on, look at those eyes. Look at how much of the soul is embedded. Right, and even and the walk-in only lasted about 10 years. But like Sheila said, and I agree with her, the imprint is still there. The imprint is still there from that original bonding experience. Look at those eyes. Look at that Shana Punham. Look at this. And when you look at pictures before this, very, very different. The same, but yet different. Let's see what else. Whoops. No. Building of the Merkaba vehicle. That's a little bit later. Okay. Let's see what else we have here. Oh, yeah. Here's another one very soon after. I think this was actually before the walk-in. This is actually after my parents found me in the wreckage of a crashed UFO. Look at this. Isn't that cute? That's me too, right? I think I still have that somewhere. Okay. And listen, we have a third one to share here. Oh, here we go. Can everybody see this one? This is me at 9, 10 years old in a dress, always ahead of my time. What can I say? I have no idea why my mother put me in this dress. Anyway, now we're back. Now we go back to the Indigos. The Indigos are in truth representatives of a very old breed of consciousness, once prevalent on the earth, and our reemergence today. We serve as harbingers of our race evolution. We are the way showers of things to come. Our race evolves and moves closer to its intended hidden destination, mainly or in great part by virtue of us being here. We are here by design. We are here by intention. Our coming is not the result of some accidental or quirk of haphazard or undirected evolution. We are here because we were asked to come, and we need to fulfill our part, become aware of it, acknowledge it, and fulfill our part in a much grander evolutionary mission. Okay? So the phenomenon of the Indigo children is both spiritual and genetic. Our search to understand the implications of us being here in the first place is going to lead us, it has to, lead us into very deeply into the knowledge and the understanding, a deeper understanding of our long forgotten past, and far beyond contemporary paradigms of psychology, spirituality, science, and even history, right? Comprehending the nature of the Indigo children is tied up intimately with understanding the nature of human existence itself. It's very important. The Indigos are here now. We didn't start coming in the 70s. Psychics and clairvoyants started to notice us because of the prevalence, the preponderance of the indigo color in our auras, especially those of small children. Why? Because our life force, the life force of young children, just makes the colors more vivid. But the fact is, we've been coming, these last waves have been coming in for hundreds of years. Now there are just huge waves, and now the highest coded indigos are coming in that the planet simply couldn't support. The grids couldn't support the living presence of these literal masters coming in now. And every time an incarnation comes into embodiment, Here, we first have to go through a huge stargate at the Earth's core. Some call it the sphere of the flame of Amenti. And we leave imprints, as Sheila alluded to, we leave imprints of our DNA code in the core of the Earth. Okay, so all incoming souls now, there have been enough indigos that have managed to make it into incarnation, managed to make it into this planet, that all incoming souls now have the same genetic potential as the indigos, which is at least what we call that silicate matrix, the 12-strand DNA pattern. So our race we need to understand what's called the Turaneusium, Turaneusiam, was created 560 million years ago, not in this harmonic universe, in a higher harmonic universe. What we call harmonic universe 2, dimensions 4, 5, and 6, pretty much anchored in the 5th dimension. Okay, it's a semi-etheric physical matter system, part carbon, part silica. We were seeded on Earth actually 3 times by our elder races. You see one represented here, thanks to April Dick. This is a Lyran Syrian Anuhazi, cat-like, feline-like. Okay, and we can talk about later. But our evolutionary blueprint was that of the 12-strand DNA matrix. We call it the diamond suns. And our long-term evolutionary goal on Earth was to assemble progressively through the root race and the cloister race cycles, activate that diamond sun matrix. Why? For progressive transmutational ascension within an eternal body. Our original body is an angelic, immortal body. The Turaneusium human race was seated on the Earth in the form of the original 12 tribes, 7 root races, 5 cloister races. So each of these root races, each root race cycle evolved one of the diamond sun DNA strands. The cloister races, of which the indigos are the most recent iteration of and expression of, we kept the potentials of the higher strands, 7 through 12, alive within the gene pool. Humanity right now is in the latter stages of the 5th root race cycle, called the Aryan root race cycle, that evolved out of the Hebrew or the Hebrew cloister race. Keep looking out for this webinar I'm going to do in a few weeks. Really gets to the core of what this conflict is and what it represents, and even more importantly, what we can do about it. Okay, but the truth is that our race has experienced a lot of genetic digression mutations through ancient tampering by visitors from other worlds. The contemporary indigo children, we are hybrids. We are hybrids. We're hybrids of an elder race and the 7th root races, future root races. In the Bible, we're called the Melchizedeks. The meek shall inherit the earth. The earth is our legacy, our inheritance. There's no word that actually translates smoothly into the word meek in the original Hebrew, Canaanite, Aramaic. Meek is an acronym, Me-ek, Melchizedek. All right? We are a future race. We, the contemporary indigo children, were hybrids of an elder race that we can get into more in some future webinars, which I have gotten into in some past webinars, or theme, even older races, founders races. The 7th rate Melchizedek, modern humans. Indigos are part of a modern day hybridization experiment to reverse mutate the human gene code, restore the diamond sun DNA matrix potential within the entire Earth human lineage. It wasn't, that agenda was not fully achieved in Christ's time. This is why the indigos have come in. So this plan now is really being actively orchestrated by members of the elder races of higher evolution that reside in the higher harmonics of matter density, as Sheila alluded to. Indigos are ET future race hybrids, not non-human, more fully human than most humans. The contemporary human lineage began 560 million years ago again. Other stellar races existed, of course, for many billions of years. This cycle we're in now is a 950 billion-year cycle. And our Turanusium lineage was created to allow for a new evolutionary option for the ancient stellar races, for all the races in our time matrix who had experienced genetic digression. And what that means is they can no longer accomplish or complete full transmutative dimensional ascension out of our time matrix. And further, that hominid life in our time matrix began actually in this cosmic nursery, the pre-matter systems, the liquid light systems of what we call harmonic universe 4, the Lyran star system, the cradle of Lyra or Lyra. Rockabye baby on the treetop. When the wind blows, the cradle of Lyra will rock. When the bough or the seal breaks, the cradle will fall and down comes baby, cradle and all. Well, we may have fallen to the bottom of the tree, but we still carry the imprint of the cradle of Lyra within our genetic code, which is that diamond sun 12 strand. Okay. There's so much to go in this, and Sheila, let me know when I have 15 minutes left. Okay. So genetically, we indigos are defined as an ET human hybrid race from the future. You see, we've come from the future. Personally, I have no resonance with past lives, and I really do believe that we mistake, in many cases, past lives with simultaneous incarnations. We, each one of us here, are members of an incarnational or soul family of 12. Sorry, I got a cookie that came up here. Like you can look at us as one hand on a clock, 12 simultaneous incarnations of a soul or angelic identity that we call the Dora, D-O-R-A. Now, depending on what position you are on this incarnational clock, this family of consciousness, you have certain genetic potentials. And this is going to overlap now with soul braiding that we'll talk about in a few minutes. Okay? So, again, we qualify as ET. We've come from the future. Personally, I have no resonance with past lives, but the 11 other members of my particular soul family or incarnational family, they are placed or have chosen different time, space, locations to fulfill their evolutionary potentials. But remember that we're in periods of time now. There's a lot of dimensional blending going on, and we're getting memory bleeding in, not necessarily from past lives, but from simultaneous incarnations that are living their lives now in different time space coordinates. Relative to us, it would be in our past. So it's an interesting way of looking at it, that the members of our soul family that exist in quote unquote past time, we are their higher selves. We are the ones that they are channeling, just like we channel or download information from our higher selves, multiple identities in many space-time locations across at least a 15-dimensional time matrix. And not to mention its parallel, not to mention our parallel selves, not to mention probable selves that we'll get into in a minute. So we qualify as ET because our genetic code is that of the original Orapheme race. Okay? Lyran, Syrian, Anuhazi, Azurites, multiple stellar lines. The seed races are elder races through which the original Turanusium human lineage of Harmonic 2 was created. So indigos are ancient. We are Orapheme elder stellar race humans. Incarnating now, certainly great waves of us, especially since the 70s, as part of a contemporary human hybridization program and evolutionary experiment through which that 12-strand diamond sun DNA potential can be reawakened within the entire human lineage. And I think all incoming souls now can pick up that, at least that 12-strand diamond sun DNA. Many of the indigos, the higher indigos, carry what's called the double diamond or the emerald sun DNA matrices that allow for an expression of 12 to 24 or 24 to 48 frequencies of consciousness, and can complete full transmutative dimensional ascension. This is the evolutionary path of human consciousness. They have the potential, the indigo type 1s we'll talk about briefly, they have the potential to awaken as fully embodied avatars. And with ascended master consciousness, certainly by the age of 33, if their DNA activates properly. And what's going to be necessary is to clear all residual karmic miasmic distortions out of the DNA, which impedes that process. And the best and the quickest and most effective way to do that is to forgive. To forgive. This is one of the great lessons many of us still have to learn, that through either ignorance or naivete or just plain stupidity, that we allowed ourselves to be violated, or we become the violators. Forgive, make apology, because it is written, the Pistis Sophia, very, very clear, this extended conversation between Jesus and Mary Magdalene with progressive apology. The soul is declared innocent of all the soul is declared innocent of all karmic, miasmic, what's that word? I'll remember it in a minute. And you're placed in a position of never having been separated from the one. So when you apologize, apollo means not many. So when you apologize, you are reaffirming oneness. And a critical mass to hold that thought clearly and consistently in your mind can transmute any karma. Not only that we have accreted in our lives, but our simultaneous incarnations, parallel lives, soul families that affect us here. But the great news is that we can affect them. The healing that we can do on an individual level extends to all of creation. So we're considered a future race because we enter fetal integration with aspects of the 5th and 6th DNA strands activated. And this is a characteristic of, for example, the Melchizedek, these future root races and cloister races that exist in the future, okay? Exist in the future, and we're born through what's called birthing contracts. What's called, the technical name for this is Pali or Palladorian birthing contracts. But remember, we inherit genetic distortions from our earth parents via the fetal body, and we need assistance in reverse mutating the parental DNA that kicks in. This is why I think as little babies we start crying, to be consciously aware that we're beginning to forget who we truly are, right? Very, very important. So very, very quickly, getting into types of the dominant types of indigo children. There are 3 primary types of indigo children, each with a different purpose, each with a different version of the original Orifeme genetic code. This is our seed elder race, each serving a different purpose within this present evolutionary experiment. We're in the midst of these changes so significant, so profound that only dim traces echo in our collective memories. Now, the indigo recessive type 3s is the most common type of indigo child presently incarnate on the earth. They began birthing in small numbers about 200 years ago. They have contracts to birth more type 3s. And we're going to talk about these type 3s are the ones, you know them, you could recognize them. They're the ones that have the most of the issues of bipolarism. You know why? Because they have 2 different avatars in one, incarnate in one body. That's the angel and the devil on each shoulder. You see that manifest in a lot of the early Warner Brothers and a lot of early cartoons. Why? Because a lot of these cartoonists, animators, and illustrators came from Germany when Hitler was coming into power. There was so much occult hidden information encoded in these early cartoons. I'd like to do a webinar on that alone, okay? The indigo dominant type 2 is the next most common type of indigo child, okay? And then there's the indigo composite type 1 is the most rare and uncommon. Most entered incarnation in the 60s and 70s. There are very few of them on the planet now. And it's important to understand that the contemporary UFO movement with contactees claiming to be abducted by aliens as part of a hybridization agenda taking place. Elder race humans visit from future time to assist us in fulfilling what has always been known as the Emerald Covenant. Read The Wizard of Oz. The book, it's all about the Emerald Covenant, right? And our ancient intruder visitors, the one that hold digressive fallen consciousness, they have always been attempting to hijack our evolution with unintended hybridization programs that violate the original Emerald Covenant. So very briefly, and again, let me know when I have 15 minutes left, okay? All right? Okay. Now, again.
You have 30 minutes.
Oh, really? Okay. So in the Earth human lineage, thank you, Sheila. God bless you. In the Earth human lineage known as the Adam Kadmon or the Adumi Kudmon human, there were 7 root races. 5 cloister races were seeded. Again, each of these root races, the evolutionary cycle, developed one of the first 5 DNA strands within the 12-strand DNA template. The cloister races, of which the Indigos, we are the most recent restatement of this ancient covenant. We carry the imprints, the programs of the 7th through the 12th DNA strands, and they correspond to the higher dimensional density systems. Root race incarnates in our paradigm we call the earth seeds, and the cloister race incarnates that carry the programming for the higher strands are called the star seeds. And it is us, the incarnates from the cloister races, the future races, that keep the 12-strand DNA template potentials alive within the earth human gene pool. And we represent advanced stages of human evolution, not less human, more fully human. The cloister race human 12-strand DNA template is known again as the diamond sun DNA. Consciousness incarnating into the diamond sun race biology enters from the 12th through the 10th through the 12th dimensions. Good to remember that the 10th, 11th, and 12th dimensions are the avatar Buddha, the Buddhas, the avatars, the Christed ones, the Buddhas, Bodhisattvas that have achieved full Christ Buddhaic nirvana have come here from there. Where is there? The systems of Lyra, 10th, 11th, and 12th dimension. 10th dimension is Lyra Vega, which is very interesting. Watch the movie Contact again with Jodie Foster. 11th dimension is what used to be called Avion, which through semantic depletion and mistranslation is known now as Avalon. Camelot, a lot of us on my personal incarnational journey has been from the 11th dimension. Many of us have started this incarnational journey, this leg of the trip, from the 11th dimension. We go through sets of interdimensional stargates. We have to go through the Earth's core, leaving imprints, right? Through the Earth's core, through the flame, the sphere of Amenti. And then to get into fetal integration, we have to go through one of the planetary stargates that correspond to the interdimensional stargates. In my case, in many of our cases, I'm sure the 11th dimensional stargates on the planet, which are located in England, the Vale of Pusey, where a lot of the crop circles are, to facilitate transit, right? Through the sphere of Amenti, through the planetary stargates, into fetal integration, and a little island off the coast of Ireland called the Isle of Eye. This is why a lot of us see that 1111 on the clock, because we're coded with that 11 and 11, 1111. So various times in our Earth human evolution, it's important that certain families of what we call the cloister race humans further genetically enhanced through hybridization with the seed race out of which the original angelic Ternusium human lineage emerged. Why is this important? How it relates to the walking phenomenon? We'll find out in about 5 minutes. So the seed race of the human is called the Orphine. The Orphine, again, the Orphine human seed race is a composite genetic code of Syrian Azurite, Syrian blues from the 2nd density, dimensions 4, 5, and 6. Lyran Syrian Anuhazi from density 3, that's dimensions 7, 8, and 9. These are oversouls, archangelics. what's called the Elohai Emerald Order from the fourth density, dimensions 10, 11, and 12, and the founders race Melchizedek cloister, what they call the Brennau Rishi, from the fifth density, dimension 13, 14, and 15. So the human cloister Orifeme hybrid is known as the Emerald Order Orifeme, the Emerald Order. In contemporary times, we're known as the Indigo Children. And the DNA template of an Emerald Order Orifeme has that 24 to 48 strand potential, which can allow for potential biological immortality and full biological transmutation out if chosen. The freedom to choose if we want to achieve full biological transmutation out of the dimensionalized time matrix. The Emerald Order Orifeme, the 24 to 48 strand DNA template, which contains within it the original human 12 strand DNA template, is called the Emerald Sun DNA, or the Emerald Suns. And the Orifeme humans, the Indigos that carry this DNA template, are known, they were the primary Grail lines. And those carrying the Holy Grail, or the DNA template design that can fully transmute out of matter and hold not only ET consciousness, not only meta-terrestrial consciousness, but ultra-terrestrial consciousness, beyond time consciousness and embodiment. So consciousness incarnating into the Emerald Sun Orifeme biology enters from a minimum of the 13th dimension. The primary Grail lines among Earth humans entered into Earth's human gene pool about 800,000 years ago and became the lineage through which Yeshua Melchizedek, Christed family lines, emerged following his birth. So I know there's a lot to talk about this, but just before we get into the type 1 indigos that always come in through walk-in contracts, I just want to talk briefly about a secondary Grail line that emerged within the Earth human populations about 248,000 years ago through hybridization with the Nephilim race. The Nephilim race truly is a hybrid race of cloister humans from previous Earth seedings, combined with the Syrian Anunnaki race strain. You see, this is why the Magdalenes, the circles of Marys, through all those generations, this is why they were chosen to be the temple priestesses, because they were of the tribe of Benjamin. The Benjaminite women were the spawn of the Nephilim Anunnaki. They were hybrids of fallen angelic giants, the Anunnaki, Syrian, Pleiadian, Nibiruan Anunnaki, and Earth human females. And being the spawn of the hybrids of this composite genetic code, they had an expanded DNA potential. They were able to create within themselves very, very powerful secretion, ascension elements that could give anybody that went into these temples, into the Holy of Holies or the Hole of Holes, a taste of the Christos. And this is why these women were chosen, because they were called the Raelim. They were the spawn again of Nephilim, Anunnaki, and human females, called the Raelim, or the sons and daughters of sin. This is very important to understand. The Nephilim race biology contains within itself the 9th to the 11th strand DNA template of what's called the Ruby order Nephilim Elohim. And the Nephilim Elohim, the 9th to 11th strand template, is called the Ruby Sun DNA. Okay, it's very, very important. The indigo type 3s, the ones that are the most populous on the planet, are here for a very important reason also. They're here to help the Anunnaki Nephilim races get back their diamond sun DNA. All the types of indigos have their specialties and their specialized contracts. So the indigo type 3s are no more or less important than the type 2s or the type 1s. It's very, very important, since there are so many incarnates of the fallen Nephilim, Anunnaki, Syrian, Pleiadian, Nibiruan Anunnaki races here. This is why there are so many of the type 3s on the planet, with contracts to birth more indigo type 3s. because they're here to heal the fallen Nephilim Anunnaki races to get back their Diamond Sun DNA. Okay, so, and again, we'll have time for questions, but I want to talk about now a little bit more about the Indigo type 3s. Okay, just so you can recognize them, they have the Indigo type 3s are literal incarnations of two different avatars in one body. There's an Orpheum avatar overseeing a Nephilim avatar. The core of their life purpose is to mend the extremes of polarity between their reversed 11-strand DNA matrix and their 12-strand diamond sun. But their lifetimes serve a very important role in the greater plan of healing the DNA distortions within the Nephilim, Anunnaki, and human genetic lines. The Indigo type 3s have the most extremes and polarity issues. They're highly intelligent, mathematically inclined, they're very athletic, as Anunnakis are, may have difficulty with emotional bonding issues. Why? Because it seems like they have an angel and a devil in one body. The incarnating Nephilim avatar must agree to function in subservience to the Orpheum avatar until the Nephilim regains the fire letter content, the 12th dimensional fire letters that allow them to connect with their Rishi collective, so that they may evolve to actually experience the authentic frequencies of love, not to fake it, the actual experiences of love, genuine bonding, and compassion for other life forms. The Indigo recessives, the type 3s, have the most difficulty in balancing polarity due to their reversed Nephilim coding. They're most vulnerable to obsessive compulsive disorders, bipolar orders. The Nephilim imprint you see tends to activate first. That's why you have this, it creates the aggressive hyperactive child that spends most of its time, and you know who you are, testing the extremes of the boundaries between right and wrong, constantly challenging authority. They sometimes seem like the child from hell, but it could do a complete turnaround to nearly angelic, loving behavior. At times, it seems that the child has an evil twin that emerges, a dark side to their personality, which is capable of extreme thoughtlessness and cruelty. That's big. There's a lot to say about, and I probably will do another set of through the Conscious Awakening Network on the Indigo. Is very important to understand. Now let's talk briefly about the Indigo type 2s. They're part of an Orpheum human hybridization program, through which that 12-strand diamond sun DNA matrix is fully reinstated within the Earth human genetic lines. Why? To restore the original codes of ascension. The type 2 Indigos have an Orpheum 24 double diamond DNA matrix, gives them a maximum potential of 30 ascension codes through which their avatar Christed Buddhic identities may embody. Type 2 Indigos are one Orpheum avatar in one body, so they don't display the extremes in polarity imbalance that the Indigo type 3s do. The core of their life purpose from a very early age is assisting in raising consciousness. Isn't it amazing when you have a small child? What do you want to do this afternoon? Do you want to go play in the park, go on the swings? No, they want to assist in raising the consciousness of the whole world. The looks on their faces, that longing, that existential longing. You shouldn't need to see that on the face of a small child, but you do. I had imaginary playmates, but like, I knew, but angels, and I knew all their names, you know? I myself was an imaginary playmate. So the core of their life purpose is assisting in raising consciousness and to build a critical mass of that diamond sun DNA within the human gene pool. And I think we have accomplished that. And holding and running higher dimensional frequency. Why? For planetary grid work. They have advanced psychic development, and they may have open interdimensional contact from birth throughout their lives. the indigo type 2s, they're gifted in linguistic translation, of course, because with the higher DNA strand potential, remember, those of us that are channeling quote unquote light language, the first light languages we're going to be channeling, and you've noticed now that a lot of light language channelers, they're sounding very similar. Why? Because the first languages we're going to learn how to channel are the ones that are closest to us genetically. Atlantean, Lemurian, Pleiadian, Syrian light languages, those that come from our fifth and sixth dimensional counterparts, our identities that exist now in the fifth and sixth dimensions. So it's no mystery. Oh, karmic entanglements. With progressive apology, the soul is declared innocent of all intensifications of karma and are placed in a position of never having been separated from the one. In our lifetimes, we will know the full revelation of ourselves, the full revelation of the Christos. And why do we do it? We do it for Christ's sake. Yes, for Christ's sake. We do it for the sake of the Christos. We're being asked now to jettison, to let go of anything which is impeding the process of our coming into our full evolutionary blueprint. And that can be very difficult for people. Be brave, be courageous. Be willing to let go of anything which is impeding our upward journey, right? So they're gifted in linguistic translation, the arts, music, diplomacy. Well, we can become, but they can become, except we, excessively introverted due to fear of the earth environment. As strong and as powerful as we are, we're also very vulnerable, especially to toxic environments. And they know that. Who is they? We'll talk about that some other time, right? Type 2s are the most personable of the three major indigo types. Can't you tell? Right? And we enjoy human bonding, but only if it's within protected fields. That's important. You're starting to recognize yourself. Now the indigo composite type 1s, of which they're very rare, I'm certain. Oh, we have 108 participants now. You know how many beads there are in the mala on the rosaries? 108. That's a large part of that is to reinstate the divine feminine back to her rightful place in the spiritual hierarchy. That's another amazing time. Oh, no, back to 107. No, back to 108. All right. Indigo type 1s are part of a Orpheum human hybridization program. We're here to serve to accelerate and expedite reaching a critical mass of the diamond sun matrix. We needed to have done that before 2012. I think we have. The type 1 indigos have the emerald order Orpheum 48-strand emerald sun DNA matrix, which gives them a maximum potential of 48 ascension codes through which the avatar identity may embody, certainly by the age of 33, and their consciousness may also expand into fields of non-dimensionalized cosmic sound vibration, what we understand as ascended master. The type 1 indigos always and without exception incarnate through walk-in agreements, whereby a smaller soul essence from their own oversoul collective, 7th, 8th, 9th dimension, begins the incarnation, begins it at fetal integration. Why? To raise the frequency of the body. And once the DNA is sufficiently activated and cleared of all residual karmic miasmic distortions, then and only then the original soul walks out into ascension and the avatar identity walks in. In other words, transfers its spirit essence to the body, to awaken within the body, to fulfill its world service contract. Again, type 1 indigos always incarnate within through walk-in agreements, whereby a smaller soul essence, which is compared to us huge, a smaller soul essence, those that have consciousness can pull from the 4th, 5th, and 6th dimension, or from their own oversoul collective, 7th, 8th, and 9th, begins the incarnation to raise the frequency of the body, very necessary, because once that DNA is sufficiently activated, the original soul walks out into ascension, and the avatar identity walks in. to awaken within the body to fulfill its world service contract. When does that happen? Usually at age 12 or 22, and must occur by the age of 33. Given the fact that I was probably going to die in that car accident, it had to happen at 6 years old. Where normally with the process, I'm not saying I'm an indigo type 1, I don't believe I am. But the type 1 indigos, the ones that come in through the walk-in agreements, have advanced psychic and occasionally direct manifestation abilities. Usually have physical contact with the elder race family in childhood. In childhood. Who are you talking to, Phil? Oh, I'm talking to Metatron, right? And or some iteration of a higher identity, right? Usually have physical contact with elder race family in childhood and have a clear life purpose to fulfill advanced planetary grid work. That's, again, a lot of us have had that, what do you want to do today? You want to get some ice cream, Phil? No, I have advanced planetary grid work to do. Coming out of an 8-year-old, a 9-year-old, a 10-year-old's mouth, what did they have? Our parents had no reference or framework or expanded context to understand this. We do. Our children and our children's children, certainly, hopefully, God willing, have a larger, more expanded framework. We're sensitive to everything, or they are, and often remain detached from human issues to focus on their service contract. And we indeed hold great, great, great love for all of creation. Now, before I finish here, when we talk, I have about what, maybe 5 minutes? Perfect, right? Okay.
You have 15 minutes.
That's great. Okay. Wow. Don't think any of this is going over your head. It's going from my heart to your heart. And then we have gratitude. And I got to tell you, Sheila, Stone, all of us that are here together, we're all feathers in each other's wings. We help keep each other aloft. I am so grateful. I am perpetually and eternally grateful. And this was a big part of the original law of attraction teachings, Wallace Wattles. What is gratitude? Yes, it's giving thanks, but gratitude is a magnetic force that unites your brain and your solar plexus. Solar plexus is in charge. It controls the sympathetic nervous system and your physical expression of your emotions. You want to access the fullness of emotion to be able to really manifest your true heart's desire. You've got to master the abdominal breathing. You've got to awaken that solar plexus. The solar plexus is the gateway to the universal library to work with true lasting changes in the subconscious mind. The solar plexus, if anybody out there, you know what I'm talking about, can put a link to the online. There's many websites that have a PDF scanned copy of William Walker Atkinson's writing under the nom de plume, Theron Q. Demont. The book is called The Solar Plexus or the Abdominal Brain, written, I think, 1918. I have actually one of the original copies, a little pamphlet, The Solar Plexus of the Abdominal Brain, to access the fullness of emotions that's needed for true manifestation. You've got to bring the solar plexus into it. And with gratitude, it's a magnetic force that unites your brain and your solar plexus in the heart space. And that's where it's felt. And the gratitude I have for having a platform through Consciousness Awakening Network, through these multiple platforms, to be able to share this information, because the greatest sin, they say in many circles, is not to share higher knowledge. So we talked about that incarnational family clock of 12. If one of us discovers that it is one of the smaller incarnates within that family of 12, within that incarnational family, that soul family, a conscious decision, hopefully it's conscious, to accelerate our personal evolution can be made. Once the smaller incarnate, the ones that had the lower genetic potential, less activated at birth, let's say, when we assemble the codes necessary that we inherited from this life we as incarnates can open communication with our soul family. And to do that, you've got to have activated at least some of the sub-codes, some of the sub-frequency bands in the fourth, fifth, and sixth dimension. That's the only way you do it. You know, we may not have all of our higher strands activated, but we have at least 3 innate strands fully activated, although we have to clear any remaining lingering karmic miasmic distortions so we can hear it clearly. They're always broadcasting very clearly, but we have to go through a lot of translation processes. But the way to do it, since we have those first 3 strands activated, we have the first 3 subharmonics in all the higher strands. So in light language, in our channeling, and maybe if there's time during the question and answer, I'll talk about how I or we download our information and how it's translated through the DNA, although that usually requires a little more teaching. I'll mention that I do offer mentorships, personal mentorships, one-on-one mentorships. I decided to start having, they used to be 6-month, a year, 2-year programs. And the people that have been with me, they know they made that original investment and we're into our 3rd year. It's an unending, it's a never ending journey. So I do offer personal one-on-one specialized mentoring, small group mentoring. Openings are few and far between. Just get in touch with me. I'm not hard to find. I'll put my email on the chat if you want to talk to me about possibly entering into a mentorship. So once the incarnate can open communication with our soul, or what used to be called the Dora family of conscious, our soul collective, we can request that a soul braid takes place, through which what we call the grids, the morphogenetic field of the smaller incarnate, is merged with that of a larger incarnate. So in a soul braid, the present incarnate begins to assemble the codes from its next incarnation, from its future incarnation into its present body. I will repeat that. In a soul braid, the present incarnate begins to assemble codes from its next incarnation into its present body, and works to fulfill the life purposes, not only of our present incarnation, but our next incarnation in present time. And this process allows for a much more expedient and facilitated incarnational progression through this, what we call the incarnational cycle of 12, in which an incarnate's consciousness does not have to experience birth, death, and rebirth for every incarnational pattern within what we call the 12th cycle. So through soul braiding, the 12 cycles of incarnation can be completed in as little as 3 cycles of birth, death, and rebirth, as the incarnational energy identity, our patterns, and the grids from all the other smaller incarnates are merged into the grid of a single incarnate. And this can be very, very challenging unless we have coherence. We have all this dimensional blending, but unless you know the larger framework and the context through which these changes are happening, there's going to be a lot of panic and chaos. Remember that through the chaos, you understand where Hosea 4:6, we're only limited by our lack of knowledge. Our people, my people, the true spiritual Israel, suffer from one thing and one thing only, lack of knowledge. And this, of course, the utilization of that knowledge. Remember, every language pattern, whether it's written, spoken, channeled, sung, chanted, will convert into electrical impulse. What I'm speaking to you now, what I'm reading off of the page, wherever you get it, any language pattern is it's converted into electrical impulse within the scalar templates of our body's blueprint. And those language patterns are electrical mathematical codes, and they will open up what are affectionately known in Kabbalah and other teachings as the Shari Aura, the gates of light. And we can have what Jesus called the effulgence of light. You know, we can be the Magdalene that is in every one of us. We are all children of the Magdalene. We are all Grail children. We all carry the Holy Grail within us. And when we learn to depolarize or repolarize this very thin tissue within our pineal glands, we can send our mental intentions through that filter into the Earth's core. So what we want to manifest for ourselves can be a planetary service. And guess where we direct our thoughts? To the core of the Earth, to an energetic structure form that looks like a silver cup. This gets so deep, but I will tell you, it's absolutely amazing. And I would invite anybody who wants to go further into this to get in touch with me, to get in touch with any of us. Remember, we all have pieces of this. So the process of celebrating, understand it takes time. As the codes of the other incarnates, they're slowly assembled into the codes of us, the present incarnate, one at a time, which slowly expands what's called the elastic genes. To do really good DNA work, you've got to understand what the elastic genes are. And the more we have what's called the elastic genes, or these turnstile DNA codes, you know that's going to increase our ability to neurologically network, actually, and to expand the neurological structure, to really be able to assemble more of these codes and to integrate them, not only that, and express them through us. What are we but are vehicles for the Holy Spirit? We are all the revealing vehicles for the path of grace. This is the path of grace that we're on, okay? We're only beginning now to know the true nature of love and the true nature of freedom. So it's called the incarnates. We have genetic time codes called the elastic gene codes. This is very important. And we, as the higher incarnates, we have very specialized positions on that incarnational clock. Not only can we heal ourselves, we can heal our whole incarnational family. And it goes, we can heal the past and the future. We can learn from our future as well as our past. Got it. This is the value of being able to go into the dream state fully conscious. When our consciousness detaches from its normal three-dimensional focus, we go into the lower mid-bands of the astral dimensions. We're going into our future where we can actually communicate and begin to integrate soul levels of our identity. The trick is to bring that back into full waking consciousness, to bring the information, the love, the grace we received in our future, bring it back to our normal waking consciousness. So assembling all the codes of, let's say, 144 incarnates, because remember, we're in an incarnational family of consciousness, soul matrix of 12. Well, each of our souls is one soul of an oversoul matrix. It's always in cycles of 12. We're one of 12, family of consciousness, that connect to one angelic or one Dora. One soul projects 12 aspects of itself, 12 incarnates. So in different time, space, locations, again, so they're not necessarily past lives. They can be. They can certainly be interpreted as past lives, but they are members of our incarnational families that exist in past and also future times. We may be the most present of our soul family, but even our souls, our direct soul connections, our angelic identities, are one of a family of 12 Doras or souls. So there are really 144. And this can be achieved in one lifetime, but it's very rarely, if ever, attempted, because the cellular memory of all the 144 incarnates is originally contained within our presently dormant codes. Our work is to take them out of dormancy. So celebrating is an option to any incarnate who can open the lines of communication with our Dora, with our soul identities. Because our soul identity, you remember, you want to know what your soul purpose is? Bound with your soul identity. Your soul identity knows it's actually the completion, the fulfillment of our soul's purpose here. The soul identity holds the information of what position an incarnate holds within our family clock, as well as the knowledge of the life purposes for each lifetime. So open the channels to our Dora, to our souls, to our angelic identities. And the pathway through that is through the heart. It's the path of grace. It's the path of love, and it's the path of the heart. Okay? And that data is stored within our cellular memories. So each human can access it. The DNA translates as a series of translation mechanisms from our cells through the DNA back in the cells, electromagnetic instructions. But to get that information clearly, we have to clear any remaining karmic miasmic distortions in our DNA. And the best ways to do that, as far as I'm concerned, is through forgiveness and gratitude. And a critical mass of that can triumph literally over any karmic pattern that has been generated here by us or any of our parallels. Remember, any decision we make that's not in line with our soul identities, trial probable selves are created that have different life paths. We can bring those back together again. We can achieve unity. Remember, like in a hologram, you can reconstruct the full image out of any piece, but the light has to be coherent. We have to achieve coherency. Now, Sheila, very, very big on the process of reintegration, clarity, achieving that degree of clarity and coherence, so we can hear the message clearly and then choose to act on it and share that information to all who share that sense of longing that we've known since we were children, that existential sense of longing. Well, through the Wish Alliance, the Galactic Alliance, and now, yes, we can, through the Conscious Awareness Network, we're creating platforms that our message can be heard, can be extended to all of creation and echo through all the gates and halls of eternity and back to us. So thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for allowing me to share this.
Thank you, Phil. That was absolutely awesome. I know you had a lot of information. You did a great job getting it out to us in a very quick manner. So thank you again. You do have a few questions and comments. So I want to go ahead and start with Zachary. Says, do you have any movies, books, etc. to recommend to starseeds that are encoded with multidimensional information? I noticed you mentioned The Wizard of Oz as having Emerald Covenant codes, and it caught my interest. Thank you. Love you.
Yeah, The Wizard of Oz, the movie is cool enough because many of the writers of The Wizard of Oz, again, at that time, that came from Germany, was when Hitler was coming into power, were advanced metaphysicians. There's so much occult information in the movie, but in the book, even more so. Even more so. The number 40 is very, very dominant in the book. And again, you have 40 days and nights, 40 days of the flood. 40 is the mystical number of the perfection of the meditative state. And just like in Charles Hanel's Master Key, you can also download, there's many websites where you can download Charles Hanel, Hanel, the Master Key. This is 24 lessons, 24 weeks that teaches what? How to control our thoughts. Through all these years, I've discovered or rediscovered that most of these programs fail. It's not the teacher, it's not the content, it's a combination. And the reason that most of them fail is because we still have not yet learned to control our thoughts. And I think the greatest, you asked what the greatest resources is, the Conscious Awareness Network. What's posted on the website, Galactic Alliance, everything that you really need, and more is being added all the time. I could, if you contact me privately, we can talk. I can make a list for you that can answer more directly and pointedly your questions. But as far as a general resource and platform, and multiple platforms that we can access pretty much anything we need to facilitate, accelerate our evolutionary journey and back into wholeness, is through the Consciousness Awareness Network. Yeah. Okay.
Phil, could you share can you give me your email real quick?
Yeah. Oh no, I did it just for Stone Hobbit here. Okay. All right. For everyone.
Yes, for everyone.
There it is, right?
Great. All
That's
right.
my email address. If you're into I do a number of different private sessions. I have different mentorships. Openings are few and far between, and we have an amazing group. First time since certainly, well, go ahead.
I was just going to ask, Katie wanted to know if you could put the name of the book that you recommended in the chat as well.
The Master Key, and then there was the solar plexus, or the the abdominal brain. There are many websites you can access the full Master Key program, 24 lessons in 24 weeks, and the solar plexus, the abdominal brain. Okay, there must be somebody out there who has the link for it. If I had a little more time, I could do that. But they're very, very easy to access. I'm very easy to find. The Consciousness Awareness Network, you didn't even have to go look for us. We found you, you know. We put out the invitation, and just by the fact that you are here, that you've accepted the invitation, we're more than ready, more than willing, right, Sheila? More than able to meet you at least halfway. We give of ourselves with gratitude, with thanks, with compassion for ourselves. Again, forgiveness is so important. If we've been stupid or naive or ignorant, if we allow ourselves to be violated, forgive ourselves first, and then forgive others that you feel have violated you, because for most of the time, forgive them because they really didn't know what they were doing. For those that didn't know what they were doing, they may not be able to find their redemption in this world, but in the world to come. Yes.
All right. So Carol has a question. It says, if type 2 indigos are the most common, how many would you say are on the planet currently? When did they start arriving on the planet?
Type 3 indigos, the ones that are here to heal the Nephilim, Syrian, Pleiadian, and Anunnaki Nephilim races, they are the most populous. There are millions upon millions of the type 3 indigos. And just with what I gave you, you can really begin understanding this framework to understand how to recognize yourself or anybody else, maybe even your children that are type 3 indigos. Okay, so there are more of the type 3s, less of the type 2s, and very rarely the type 1s. But since so many of us and so many waves of us have come in previously, now the grids can withstand. See, when you get a lot of higher consciousness coming in when the grids aren't that stable, that's when you can get a lot of change, earth changes, volcanic earthquake activity, weather changes, climatic changes, changes even in our own DNA, and the planet gets rocked. But I think there are enough of us on the planet now, gatekeepers, gate holders, key holders, that the planet's steady enough now in this ascension cycle that the planet, that we can, more of the indigo type 1s can come in. But it's the type 3s that are more of them, because there are a lot of the incarnates of the Nephilim races on the planet than any other type of indigo, or even any type of hybridized human. Okay.
Paul has a comment, and I think it's a great observation. Paul says, if we had baseball cards for each prophet in the Bible, could we put a spirit type on the card stats?
Yeah, you could theoretically, but I would not advise that until you have achieved a level of clarity and understanding and free of any residual karmic miasmic layers or layering. Because if you don't, you're going to impress and imprint that on the card. Usually it won't matter. The cards, if it's of these biblical patriarchs and prophets, they're so powerful, their grids are so powerful, their protection is so powerful that you probably couldn't affect any changes in them anyway. But I like your follow-up comment about seeing the orange flying saucers in Joshua Tree. I can't wait to go back to Joshua Tree and the 20, how many palms? 29 palms area, the area of the Integratron. I'm sure a lot of people out there have worked in the Integratron. I think I could actually, given the freedom to do it, I think I can actually finish it. But then again, there are responsibilities. Remember, it's really true. Stanley told us through Spider-Man, with greater power does necessitate the need for greater responsibility. Don't jump into work that you feel you are not ready for. And I will tell you, if you're doing a lot of the higher work, even in our mentorship programs, if you're doing this work and you feel pressure, intracranial pressure, if your eyes start to bleed, your nose starts to bleed, your gums start to bleed, your teeth, I had a tooth explode at a Universalist church somewhere in Florida, and it right onto someone's forehead, my tooth. But being the trooper that I am, I just walked off the stage, still was talking, saw the microphone in my hand, took the tooth, put it back, and just continued on. Well, that's me, you know. But any other questions? So yeah, Joshua Tree is amazing. Go ahead.
Let's hit this one for Deborah. It says at 71, I have worked in metaphysical field 33 years as a psychic medium and since 2002 as a conscious channel. I've spoken what a well-known channel told me was an angelic language and have done this probably 3 years, but I don't understand anything said. At times, I feel I'm speaking to a group. I cannot see physically, otherwise I'm alone when speaking. The majority of what Phil is speaking about, I don't know about. Home, I felt, was to be with God as we are here on earth temporary. I don't know what world I resonate with because I don't have info of others.
Okay, the question is, it's a fairly common question, Deborah, right? The fact is, we are always with God. We are all extensions. We are all individuated aspects of the one collective consciousness we know as God. We can never be separated. We cannot acknowledge that connection, right, Sheila? But we are always innately, by the fact we are intrinsically connected with God. The fact that we all have that information, it's encoded in our DNA. The DNA strands are actually transliteration, translation mechanisms. We will have the full revelation of who we are, where we come from. And just because this information may seem unfamiliar, the more familiar you get with it and yourself and our true purposes for being in this world, chances are 99% of us, we're here by contract, by consensual, conscious agreements we made with higher intelligence. If you can learn to go into the dream state consciously, you'll get more of that information. And what I would advise is just before going into sleep, affirm to yourself, I am awake and aware in the dream state. I am awake and aware in the dream state. I record and remember everything upon awakening. I am awake and aware in the dream state. I remember and record everything upon awakening. Our true evolutionary path, Deborah, and even I need to be reminded once in a while that our true evolutionary path is to come into wholeness. And once we can go to wholeness, what happens? Then we fragment again into dimensionalization. This is the breathing rhythm of the cosmos. The great mother has taken that breath in, let it mingle within her, and now she's ready for the next out breath. 950 billion year cycles we're talking about. And that original co-creation agreement made by the Rishi in dimensions that we can't even, hard to even conceive of, you know, given our limited understandings, was called the Emerald Covenant. And that was a covenant made by real higher ups that would allow consciousness to evolve co-creatively, cooperatively within our entire matrix. And again, Deborah, and all of you out there, in our lifetimes, we will know the full revelation of who we are. It is our destinies, our individual. And just like when you read before I end, if you've read it, read it again with our increased understanding. Now, Hermann Hesse's Journey to the East. We have a common destiny and a common goal and a common purpose, but we have our little special things that when we achieve soul integration or higher dimensional integration, or when we build those divine light Merkaba, Akasha, transharmonic, Akasha vehicles, and we have the freedom to extend love to all of creation, then we can go on our private little adventures. But we also are all in this together, and we have a grand common purpose, the original purpose for which the original human race was created, to be guardians of the stargates on this planet. To be healers, to be way showers, to be pathfinders, to be the true revealing vehicles for grace to come not only into us, but through us into the world. Yeah.
Thank you so much.